everybody, welcome back to the True North Life Homestead. Today we are making sauces. So we have a bunch of basil in the garden that's ready to go, and we're doing our second round of tomatoes, and we're going to pick for our third round of tomatoes. I'm picking them when they just have enough color on them, putting them in the house so that they can ripen up all together. We've had some volunteer tomatoes at our cottage garden, so those are also joining. So we picked about probably close to 50 pounds of tomatoes so far this year. We're going to get about 40 jars so far of sauce. But every round that we do, we get about 20 jars of sauce. But today, this basil's got to be dealt with. There are toys everywhere. Also, video coming soon on it, but I have a greenhouse now. Sneak peek. We'll see that later. But first, we're going to deal with all this sauce. Basil harvested here. That's not so bad. I'm sure a couple of people say that I left some ugly stumps, and they are not wrong. I just kind of went at it hack style. Get as much basil as we can here for this first round of pesto. I love pesto. It's my favorite sauce. So we don't can this. I just make it up in the blender and freeze it so that we don't have any issues, because I don't have a pressure canner. We just have the water bath canner at the moment, so the tomato sauce is fine in the cans, but this stuff will go into the freezer. And run back outside here and pick a batch of tomatoes. So we've got San Marzano and Romas. The Romas we usually save and we do diced tomatoes with. It didn't used to be so much worth it price-wise to do the diced tomatoes before. It was just kind of a convenience thing to always have them in the house. But now that they're like $3 a jar, it's really good to have them in the house. So I feel like it's a little bit more worth it to do them now. Let's get these picked.
Show me life, show me love, make a change, time is up. We can wait for better days, but the days won't come. Show me life, show me love, show me life. Show me love, make a change, time is up. We can wait for better days, but the days won't come. Show me life, show me love, this is all we got. Show me life, show me love, this is all we got. Show me love, show me love.
Oh, it is legitimately 100 degrees out here right now, so that's fun. But we got a great amount of tomatoes there. And if we have a look on our plants here, I'm fighting with hornworms and blight and all that kind of fun stuff, but there is still a ton in there. So we will definitely get another week's worth of tomatoes out of these guys. But we're going to get those inside to ripen and go work on our sauces inside. Not bad for a full sauce production line. So what I usually like to do with the tomatoes is weigh them so that I know how many we are getting every time we do it. Typically we get about 12 pounds. This I think is going to be a little bit more. So let's weigh it and find out. So 17 pounds. We'll say that the box is maybe a pound. 17.2. So 16 pounds of tomatoes is not bad for just letting them ripen on the counter.
This is all we got. Show me love. This is all we got. Show me love. This is all we got. Show me love. Show me life, show me love. This is all we got. Sometimes life will push you down, make you fall onto the ground. But I know you will turn it around. Oh, this is all we got.
going to be doing your own tomato sauce in large batches, get yourself a big spoon. Last year I didn't, and I burnt the bottom of it, and I was so sad. It's really hard to lose a whole batch of tomatoes to burning it in the pot when you're trying to make your sauce.
I know you'll make mistakes. Get interference and lose your way. Find the light when it rains. Oh, this is all we got. Show me life, show me love. Make a change, time is up. We can wait for better days, but the days won't come.
Now the tomatoes done, let's do some pesto. First, we're gonna wash it.
Make a change, time is up. We can wait for better days, but the days won't come. Show me life, show me love. This is all we got. Show me life, show me love. This is all we got. Show me love. This is all we got. Show me love. Show me love. Live your life within the moment. And don't go wait until the morning. You never know when it is over. All that I know is we'll get older. So let us dance this night away.
Got our basil all washed. It's just having a little dry there. For our recipe here today, we're going to be using obviously olive oil, lemon juice, raw cashews because pine nuts are crazy expensive. You can use raw ones or you can also use roasted unsalted, but I wouldn't recommend using salted ones because we're going to add our own salt. One year I tripled the amount of salt that I was supposed to use in this recipe, so be careful what kind of salt you use. We had to harvest all this basil and then all it again and all of it again just to like lower the salt content that was in here. And our homegrown garlic is going to go in here as well. We're going to toss it all into the blender and make up some pesto. While all this is going on too, I've just been stirring and reducing our tomato sauce here. So we've got basil and onions and garlic and salt and pepper and a whole bunch of other herbs in here. Seasonings, just kind of season to taste. We're reducing it down so that we can can it. I like a thicker sauce, so I do like to reduce it for a long time. It typically takes about 2 days for us to make 20 cans of sauce, just because I like to reduce it that much. And also with the young ones running around, it's not great to have a hot pot going on the stove that you don't want to burn, probably how I burned it last year. So we're trying to avoid that. We're doing a little bit lower and slower this year to get a nice thick sauce, but I wish that you could smell it in here. Between the basil all over the counter and the tomato sauce on the stove, it just smells so good. It makes me just want to devour an entire bowl of pasta while we're doing this. And because we're doing this, I do get to do that all winter long, and I'm so excited. But we're gonna put the basil into the blender now, and we're gonna make up our pesto.
Our bodies move to the groove and the light that flickers. We get lost in the crowd, it's getting thicker. We get away from the drinks and chatter. Haven't said a word, but it doesn't matter. Feel the air get thinner. Standing in a blurry dream. No one else can see us. Live your life within the moment. And don't go wait until the morning. You never know when it is over. All that I know is we'll get older. So let let us dance this night away. Feel the air get thinner. I'm standing in a blurry dream. No one else can see us. So let us dance this night away.
Alright, there's our big bowl of pesto. I'm going to see if I can weigh it. This only goes up to 10 pounds. This is saying it's 7 ounces, which is not right at all. Alright, so I just moved it over onto a hard surface, and it says that I've got just over 5.5 pounds of pesto. So I'd say that's probably a little bit more accurate. Again, I'd probably say it's a little bit more than that, but we're going to go with the 5.5 pounds. So my next step for this is that I'm going to label the Ziploc bags. So I'm hoping to get 10 bags out of this. I'll divide this up into about 250, 200 gram bags, and then it'll all go in the freezer for use this winter.
Every day I see miserable people doing things they hate just to fit in. I know it's easier to get along peacefully, but have you ever thought about you? Don't know why I keep on doing what I'm told to do, when the rules are made up by someone we never knew. Baby, wipe your tears and hear me out. We don't need someone to feel alright. Let's do the streets all the Monday. Let's call your exes and tell them they can join us too. Why always worry about money when you can get rich for trying to see the outside? I know it's hard sometimes to believe it, that you deserve more. Let me say it. Oh, quit the job you hate and love the ones you love. 'Cause have you ever really thought about you? Don't know why I keep on doing what I'm told to do, when the rules are made up by someone we never knew. Baby, wipe your tears and hear me out. We don't need someone to feel alright. Let's do the streets all
Alrighty, 10 bags of pesto done. I will spare you the cleanup of the kitchen. Bam, that looks much better. Now we can just kind of focus on doing the marinara. So when you come along here, my giant spoon, I love this thing. But just kind of pick up a little bit of it, drop it in. You can start to see that there's a little bit of divots that are still there. That's kind of what I'm looking for. That's when I start to get out my smaller spoon and do the sliding test to see what sticks to the spoon. The more it sticks to the spoon, the thicker it is, and the happier I am. Also, the tougher it is to stir, so you start to notice it thickening up.
Let's call your exes and tell them they can join us too. Why always worry about money when you can get rich for trying to see the outside?
This is just going to be a ton of stirring, so I will get back to you guys after this is reduced to the way that I want it. Alright, we got everything out so that we can start canning here in a little bit. We're still waiting for everything to thicken up, but I will show you where it starts to get a little bit closer to how I like it. Now we've been canning it. Is my hair bouncier than this morning? It's very hot and very humid in here, and I also decided to do this on a day when it's 35 degrees outside, so this, I mean, it's perfect. The canner is just finishing up with the last couple of jars. We got 16 and a half of the tomato sauce, and then we got 8.5 bags of the pesto sauce today. So it's a pretty good day. It's over, I would say, definitely over $100 worth of sauces that we get to put in our pantry, and it all lasts a really long time. We get to share it with some friends and some family, which is very exciting. You saw me do the dip with the spoon too. It's a little crazy in the house at the moment, so just when that goes into the sauce, if it doesn't immediately run off, it sticks to the spoon. That's usually when I like to pull it. I probably would have left it a little bit longer, but it is just so hot and it's getting pretty late here that I decided to call it. It'll still be fine. We'll still cook it down, but it is a little bit runnier than the first batch that I did, just for those reasons. It's personal preference. You can have it runnier, you can have it thicker, you can boil it right down until it's a paste, basically. Totally up to you. Not something that I like to do. And behind me you can hear the pop, pop, pop going on, which is super cool. And over here, it's just finishing up on the oven. I've got a little bit of cleaning done if the kitchen is still a mess, but we have something to show for it, so that doesn't feel so bad.
We don't need someone to feel alright. Let's do the streets on Monday. Let's call your exes and tell them they can join us too. Why always worry about money when you can get rich by trying to see the outside?
And there we go. It's been 24 hours, so I've taken the rings off of some of my jars for storage, and then the ones with bands are going to go to family members so that they have them. If they open them, they can just put the ring back on them in their fridge if they don't use it all up at once. But we got 8.5 bags of pesto and 16.5 cans of marinara sauce from our, I'm going to call it probably about 20 pounds of tomatoes out of both gardens, so that is pretty great. We used all of our own onion, we used all of our own garlic, so that feels pretty good. And it means that there's pasta in my future, so I'm not upset about it. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me while I did this canning, and I hope to see you guys on the next one. Bye.
I